Hi everybody, welcome to Healthline. I am Gregory Zarian. How are you? Please join us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our YouTube channel, where you can go back and look at other shows where we share with you how to get your health on. So today, the conversation is all about your heart and how to keep it healthy. And when your heart's not healthy, that's called heart disease. Heart disease, which also includes stroke and other cardiovascular diseases, is the #1 cause of death in the United States, killing close to 800,000 people alone. That is staggering. Did you know that heart disease is the leading cause of death of people from most racial and ethnic groups in the United States, including African Americans, Hispanics, and whites? However, for Asian Americans or Pacific Islanders and American Indians or Alaskan Natives, heart disease is second only to cancer. I decided to bring you the best of the best today to share with you what you need to know and how you can prevent heart disease. Joining us from Glendale Adventist Medical Center is Dr. Ray Bartgut. He is a specialist in cardiovascular diseases. Hi, doctor.
How are you? Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to talk about heart disease.
First of all, 800,000 people die nearly every year from this disease. Staggering numbers.
It is. Actually, heart disease became an epidemic only in the last 100 years or so. Before that, population used to die from other causes. But as our way of life changed and we became more urban and our mobility reduced, our food change, heart disease became more and more common. And we're seeing right now that even in developed countries, in third world countries, as they are adapting to Western way of life, heart disease is becoming #1 killer.
Why? Is it the way we eat? Is it our lack of exercise? Is it our lack of not doing? Is it social media?
Well, as I will mention later on, there is risk factors, and unfortunately our way of life increase life expectancy because we don't die from infectious disease anymore. We don't die from trauma. Age itself is a risk factor for developing heart disease later on in life. So there is a lot of risk factors, and as we live longer, we're more exposed to heart disease.
But we can also be proactive and do what we need to do to be as healthy as possible to prevent heart disease.
Absolutely, that's an accurate statement. Prevention is essential in treating heart disease. You can be an active participant in your health, or you can be passive. A lot of my patients wait until a heart attack.
Wait until it's too late.
Absolutely.
Then I'm going to find out from you so we can share with our audience what we need to do to be proactive. More with Dr. Bartgut when we come back. And here's what I always invite you to do. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And why don't you get a glass of water and some fruit and some vegetables and maybe do a few jumping jacks. Don't go away. More on how to keep your heart healthy when we come back. Welcome back to Healthline. Did you get some water? Did you eat some fruit? Did you take a few deep breaths in? And did you blow them out? Did you know that when you think you're having a headache, you are probably dehydrated? The entire conversation today is all about the heart, affairs of the heart. I love talking about the heart because it's the heart that keeps us moving every day. And how healthy is your heart? Joining us is Dr. Ray Bartgut from Glendale Adventist Medical Center. He's going to share with us all we need to know about how to keep our heart healthy. But before that, did you know that coronary heart disease is the most common type of heart disease, killing close to 400,000 people annually? Question, what is coronary artery disease?
Coronary
Doctor,
artery disease.
What is it?
Sure. You were absolutely right on the numbers. Every 60 seconds, someone dies from heart attack in this country. A father, a mother, a brother who drop dead from coronary artery disease and heart attack. The coronary arteries are the arteries that supply the heart muscle with oxygen and blood. Now, with time, a plaque, which is a buildup of cholesterol, calcium, inflammatory cells, cause narrowing in those arteries. And as it's a progressive disease, it progresses slowly until it causes severe blockages, and then that severe blockages, due to a variety of reasons, that plaque can rupture and cause a heart attack. Now, it's very interesting to say that from casualties of war, from the Korean War and Vietnam War back in the 50s, when casualties, soldiers were coming back and they did autopsy, they found in young men in their 20s and early 30s fatty streaks, which is the beginning of plaque buildup in those young, healthy
Really?
soldiers. So the bottom line is the process starts early on in life, and unless you intervene to prevent it from progressing, then later on in your 40s and 50s, it will give you heart attack, it will give you heart disease, and later on, death.
You were saying that it starts early, because one thing that we talk a lot about here on Healthline, that I talk about, is prevention and taking care of yourself. Because, I want to address obesity as well. Somebody will be sitting on their couch and they will see how much weight that they have put on, and they'll be like, I don't know how this happened. Well, you are eating food that is unhealthy for you. You are not exercising. You are not taking care of yourself. So you know how it happened. And you said earlier that some of your patients are shocked as to how they ended up having a heart attack.
Correct.
Talk to us about that, doctor. How do you tell someone to be healthy, to take care of themselves? Because you could tell me 1,000 times, if you eat carrots over a cookie, it's healthier, but I keep on eating the cookie. How do you share that with someone to make the difference?
So basically what you're mentioning is what we call it risk factors. How can someone who is supposedly healthy become victim of heart disease? It doesn't happen overnight. This is a progressive process that takes sometimes years to develop. In terms of risk factors, there is modifiable risk factor that you can control, and there is unmodifiable risk factors. Age by itself, which is a major risk factors for development of heart disease, is unmodifiable. You cannot change your
Okay,
age.
so let's start with age. What are the ages we're looking at for men in regards to heart disease?
From the Framingham Heart Study, which is an observational study, looked at thousands of patients over the years. For men is above the age of 45, for women above the age of 55.
Okay.
So
why men younger?
Because women are protected by the hormonal changes, and as they reach the age of menopause, then that protective effect goes away, and then their heart disease are equivalent to men of that age. So age, as we get older, we are more prone to heart disease. Gender, as I mentioned, men at an earlier age have a higher risk of heart disease than women. Smoking is one of the modifiable risk factors. Smoking is a major risk factors, and actually smoking is responsible for 500,000 deaths every year in this country. The majority of those deaths are related to heart attacks, and the rest of those deaths related to lung cancer, other cancers.
I just want to share with you real quickly, because I smoked 2 packs a day for 20 years. And as of this February, I will be smoke-free for 11 years. So yay me. And when people say, Gregory, how did you do it? I wanted to not smoke more than I wanted to smoke. You have to make the decision. Here's a smoke statistic. Half of cigarette users will die because they smoke. 6 million people die every year because of tobacco. This figure includes 5 million smokers, but also 600,000 non-smokers exposed to secondhand smoke. It is expected that without any action, 8 million people will die annually by the year 2030.
Correct.
So every time you light a cigarette, you're slowly killing yourself.
Correct. And actually what's important to mention that your risk of heart disease from long-term smoking goes down to 0 after a year of not smoking. And
Yay me!
the risk of heart attack dropped by 50% within the first week of quitting smoking. In this country, we see that Caucasian men rate of smoking has dropped, but unfortunately women and teenagers smoking rate has increased. And this is probably why we're not seeing further reduction in heart attack risk over the years, dropping. Since 1975, the prevalence of heart disease has been dropping sharply every year until we hit a plateau around the 1990, 1995. Part of it is the obesity that you mentioned. Part of it is spreading of smoking in other groups that they were not smoker before.
That is fascinating. When we have to take a break, but when we come back, I want to know why you think women and teenagers are smoking more. Okay, so if you're smoking a cigarette, why don't you do something healthy and kill it? You have to want to not smoke more than you want to smoke. More with Dr. Barghouti when we come back, and how to keep your heart healthy. Don't go away. Welcome back to Healthline. So I hope you're a non-smoker now, because again, as of this February, 11 years and I got my life back. So please invite your family and friends that smoke, that it's a disgusting habit. You end up smelling, and get your health on. Quit smoking. The entire conversation is about you and how to keep your heart healthy. Joining us is cardiovascular specialist Dr. Ray Barghouti from Glenland Venice Medical Center. And before the break, you mentioned, doctor, that there's a rise in teens and women smoking, and that there's a drop for men. Do you think it's